Welcome everybody to the meeting. I'll just give the usual warning about if the fire alarm goes off, it's not a drill. We'll move by the door to my right here. We will be filming, so if anybody doesn't want to be filmed who isn't a member, let Katie know here. We'll move straight into the agenda. Just one thing, Katie, I've not seen a late list or a speakers list, so I presume there isn't one. So can I just see who the speaker is? Yeah, thanks. Oh, right, okay, it's Matt. Yeah, okay, right, so apologies for absence. Okay, we've no urgent business. Any declarations of interest for any item this evening? No? Okay. We've no public questions. Can I have a mover and a seconder for the last minutes of the last meeting? Okay. Okay, are you just waiting till everybody's with us? Okay, we'll move straight into the agenda then. The first one, page 7, Royton Town Hall. We've one speaker, Matt Gilroy. Matt, on behalf of the applicant. Matt, do you want to come to the front? And Graham's just going to run us through it, and then Matt's going to speak to us.
Right, thank you, Chair. This application relates to two buildings that I'm sure many of you know quite well, adjoining buildings on Rochdale Road in Royton, the Old Town Hall building and the library together. Neither building is listed or in a conservation area, but nevertheless they are clearly substantial buildings and have a very important heritage aspect to the local area. This is the main front elevation of the building, and there are no alterations actually proposed to this aspect of the site. Oops. Is it working? Yeah. Right, apologies for that. Now moved on to the main rear elevation of the building, and this is the area of interest in terms of these proposals. As you can see, there are some modern additions to the building, so they're actually quite prominent on the back of the site. On the left-hand side is the town hall, and obviously that has some more sympathetic detail into it in relation to the original building. But as you'll see behind the back of the library, it's a more contemporary building. The proposal will involve the demolition of both those aspects of the building. This is just to show you that across the square, across the public realm from that point, there are some more modern buildings. So in terms of the design aspects, whilst there's an element of original styling, there is a contemporary design which is quite prominent in that vantage point. So these are the proposals on the back of the building, and as you can see, at the upper floor levels, some of the aspects of the original buildings are now going to be revealed by the removal of the two-storey structures originally. They'll be replaced by, at the back of the town hall, a small extension with louvres prominent. That will lead then to the steps and to a ramped area going down. At the back of the library, there's effectively the extension removed and a replacement to the rear elevation. There were some amendments to the scheme during the processing of the application, as there's some concerns about the use of materials on there, and as you'll see from that detail, those have been replaced by brickwork finishes to reflect the main building, and some detailing around the windows with the stonework, etc., again to bear some relationship to the original. These are just showing the side elevations, so these are not particularly prominent, but there are public accesses down each side of the building. So this is looking from the southern side to the side of the town hall, and again some of the bulk at the back of the building is now being removed, and you'll see the design there of the canopy that comes out from the new rear extension. On the opposite side, again, the removal of the new building has allowed some revealing of the original aspects, and again, that's a benefit to the site. This is just showing that in plan form. So again, you see the ramp out the back, leading to some alterations to the existing public realm. In terms of the plan of the building itself, on the left-hand side, as you look at it, is the former library building, and that area is intended to be used for a possible variety of commercial uses, and you'll see that obviously there's nothing particularly established for that, and there are a variety of uses which would be appropriate in this town centre location to move into there. In order to facilitate that, the library moves in to the old town hall, and the new entranceway to that building and to the retained facilities in the town hall will come out the back of the building. In that regard, you'll note that there was some concern by one of the residents about that aspect of moving this away from the prominent front of the building. But as you saw earlier on, this isn't really a rear elevation. It's quite a prominent elevation with a number of public access buildings onto there. So it's not relegating it to there, but will clearly provide improved access to the whole building. This is just the first floor, obviously difficult to read on there. But again, you see on the left-hand side, this is the first floor above the library, which only occupies part of the site, and the main area above the town hall, which will largely take some of the existing uses that were within there. So again, this proposal, essentially in terms of the building works, for the extensions and replacements out the back, which as you'll see in the report, we consider will improve the historic aspects of the premises, and for the change of use of the former library to a variety of commercial uses which are all appropriate in the town centre. Thank you, Chair.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of this application. Just by way of an introduction, my name's Matt and I'm a regeneration surveyor here at the Council. The Town Hall and Library are prominent buildings in Royton with an important history and heritage value. They have played significant roles at the heart of the community for over 100 years. Whilst the functions a building performs are still relevant, their role has changed and lessened over time. Royton Town Hall currently provides accommodation for 4 full-time staff, and some office space is leased to Greater Manchester Police, but the rest of the building is empty. Royton Library is one of the busiest in the borough, but is only occupied at the ground floor level. Both buildings have backlogged maintenance issues and are in a dilapidated state of internal finish. And as I've said, both are only partially occupied. The Council has been working to present a commercially viable scheme that will bring both buildings back into full use and allow the refurbishment of the Town Hall and Library. We are proposing to relocate the library into the ground floor of the Town Hall and consolidate the existing Town Hall functions onto the first floor, so all functions from both buildings will be retained. This move allows us to modernise the library offer to reflect the needs of a 21st century library service. We are also proposing to demolish the rear extensions that were built in the 20th century and construct a new extension to the rear of the Town Hall. The library building will be leased out for a commercial use. We consider this to be the most viable way to ensure the future for both buildings. The 20th century extensions were built using materials and form not sensitive to the original design. We propose to demolish these and redress the rear elevation with a facade more sympathetic and in keeping with the original buildings. In designing this scheme, we have given great consideration to improving the building's condition, protecting valuable community assets and encouraging new uses to protect the future of both buildings. We've worked closely with the elected members, the Historical Society, the district team, the library service and other stakeholders to devise a scheme that best meets the needs of the building users, balanced with a viable long-term future. We're seeking to market the vacated library building to a commercial unit to allow it to be marketed to a range of operators. There's been strong interest already from local traders who are keen to rent the space and use it as a restaurant or similar use that would benefit the community and local economy. To summarise, relocating the library into the Town Hall and renting out the vacated space presents the opportunity to modernise a vital community function and ensure the long-term future of both historic buildings. None of the existing functions of either building will be lost, and both buildings will remain in council ownership. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Any questions to Matt? Okay, thank you very much. I think obviously a building like this is very sensitive to all of us, particularly the right members. And as Matt has said, we have worked, in fact, Matt might recall some extremely heated meetings with the architects and the local history society and ourselves when we saw the first proposals. And we've reached a compromise there that the local history society are happy with and the members are happy with. And so we're quite keen now to get on with this. And hopefully people will pass it tonight. So any comments? Dave?
Just to move approval, Chair.
Anybody else?
Seconded.
Thank you. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favour? That's approved. Thank you. Okay. I don't think we have any more speakers now, do we? So the second item is pages 15 and 20. Land bounded Albert Street, Ollins Road. Steve, is this yours? No, it's you again, Graham.
Right, thank you, Chair. This is an application. It's one of a number that will eventually come forward for reserved matters in connection with a previous outline approval on a currently vacant site just to the south of the Hollingwood Junction. Oh, I've done it. Sorry. This is the location itself. So you'll see the junction with the M60 as it comes round past the site. Probably most renowned for the gas holder that was on this particular location. The site heading south is for redevelopment, comprehensive redevelopment to come back forward for a variety of employment uses. This application is essentially for the first phase of the access works to come into the site. Again, this is showing the main site again, a little bit further down. So these are the proposals as proposed. So Albert Street currently cuts through this direction through the site. Eventually, when the later phases will come to fruition, there will be a realignment of that road as it cuts through towards the Roban Road area. So this is the first phase. So this is basically creating the new roundabout infrastructures which will then serve the various development plots for the future of the site. So again, a little bit more detail of that. Obviously, the simple highway infrastructure that's been designed, obviously, to meet the required standards. A couple of views, essentially, of the existing character of that area of the site. So, as I say, essentially, this is merely for the highway works to facilitate a future development, which, as it comes forward, will obviously perform a role of regenerating that part of the borough in a quite strategically important location. Really, that's it, and obviously recommend for approval subject to the conditions in the report. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Councillor Hudson?
I'll move the officer's recommendation.
No, I'll second that then. Any comments? Any observations? No? Pete?
Yeah, I tried to get him before Councillor Hudson. He's pretty quick, isn't he? Yeah, I mean, I drive past there every time I come up here, and I think I've always thought, you know, well, prior to the last couple of years anyway, when it's obviously it was going to be developed, when are they going to develop that? You know, it's a prime site, I would have thought, near the M60. So, yeah, I'm totally with it. I'm for it. You know, we need good jobs. We need whatever other facilities are going to be there for people, whatever finishes up there, and it looks great. Thanks.
Okay, all those in favour? And that's unanimous again. Okay. Item 8. Graham, is this you again?
Thank you, Chair. This application for a site that has previously been before Planning Committee. It's for a vacant site, again in Royton, just off Royley, which is a cul-de-sac. As you can see there, so Royley comes round, some commercial development here, but primarily a residential area, not shown on this map, there's some more modern properties at this point, with a junction also onto Highlands Road. It's previously had, as I say, been before committee for a residential scheme. This is now a revised proposal to that. First Choice Homes are now taking over development of the site, and obviously have redefined the details in order to meet the requirements that they have identified for new housing in the area. So just a couple of photographs first of all. So again, as you're coming off Royley, so it's this area just beyond that car to the right. There's some small units on this point, but as I say, primarily a residential use and leading to the to a cul-de-sac. She's looking across the site towards Highlands Road, and just in this corner here is where there is a link through onto that road, which I'll explain on the layout. This is looking across the site, so looking from the south direction, so the sites within this area. So as you'll see, there is a fall in levels across there, and these properties on Royley Crescent are a much higher level to the north of the site. So this is the original layout. So as you come in, there were houses, two-storey houses on, and some properties on to make account of the level with a split level, and then with a block of 8 apartments at the bottom end of the site with a car parking turning area. So the new development proposal essentially involves the removal of that, the replacement with 2 new detached units at the bottom end of the site, and on where the car parking area is being proposed, there's another unit in at that point. So rather than the mix of housing and apartments, it's now all a housing scheme. In terms of some of the other changes, some of the designs of the houses, they're not fundamentally changed, but have been redesigned. Some of the outriggers at the back have been removed. These properties at this part of the site, again to follow the site levels, as you'll see shortly, have a 2 and 3 story mix. So most of the houses, fairly standard properties, similar character to what's in the area and to all the new development in the area. These are where the site levels change. So as you'll see, there's a situation where you've got 3 story on the front, and that's an elevation that faces onto the access road itself. So it's no issues with neighbouring properties. The rear elevation's 2 story, and the properties beyond that are the ones on Royley Crescent at a much higher level. Again, another example of the style of those various properties on the site. So essentially, this area, a change which I have to say is probably an improvement and fits in better with the properties on either side. Other than that, much of the arrangements and the highway aspects again have been looked at, and an improvement made to that during the course of the application. The relationships with neighbouring houses to the north and south, again, very similar to the previous approval, and are considered to be within acceptable format. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, any comments? Okay, well, I'll move it. Do I have a seconder? Okay, ready to second it. All those in favour? Okay, that's unanimous again, and that's the agenda for this evening. Please note the appeals, and we'll see you, or most people, on the 26th of April. Has it been confirmed? Is it the 23rd? I thought it was the 26th. Okay, thank you.